Never has a movie lived up to its massive hype, quite like Anthony and Joe Russo's 2014 MCU expansion, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It was a fun ride, despite having most of it spoiled for me over the years. And I didn't think it was possible, but Steve Rogers is closing in on Tony Stark as my favorite Marvel character. And don't think I didn't notice Natasha Romanov sliding into MCU MVP territory uncontested. Yeah, this movie got me hype, and I'm excited for the rest of Phase 2. The timestamps for every sequence can be found in the comment section for your viewing pleasure. Now, let's begin. We start, as always, with a focus on our protagonist, specifically their personality, their inner conflict, and their situation. Cap and Sam meet, both adjusting to civilian life as best they can. Then Cap leads a rescue mission as a S.H.I.E.L.D. operative, and the emptiness of his private life without a bromance is introduced. Next, we examine where, why, and how our protagonists exist in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. Aboard the S.H.I.E.L.D. boat, Cap fights modern-day pirates, while Nat, who lives in a closer orbit to Fury, becomes a wildcard to his rigorous planning, and he offers a fair fight to a bad guy upon request, but more out of a righteous ego than rigid morality. Then a brief event happens, one that's never happened before. It's destined to lead all the characters away from their status quo. Nat reveals her secret, a compartmentalized mission hidden within Cap's mission, which leads us to examine the effect of that something new to the status quo, specifically what's different now and what remains the same. At S.H.I.E.L.D. Command, Cap confronts Fury about secrets and trust, who explains that knowledge of a loaded .22 was enough to keep thugs from robbing his grandfather. Then he reveals the mega weapon against crime, which Cap disapproves of. We move along to the discovery that things are less than ideal, or else we explore how badly things are. Both scenarios are common. Sad and miserable, Cap tours his own life at the Smithsonian, while exposition reminds us of key Captain America 1 details, emphasizing his need for a bromance. Then he pays a bittersweet visit to an elderly Peggy, the last vestige of his old self. Next, our characters dedicate their effort to a specified goal, and this is always narrower in scope than what the third act will demand. Fury tries and fails to access the files on the flash drive, while Pierce handles the grumpy council like a seasoned politician, and Cap connects with Sam about finding purpose in a new life. Then we run through a brief checklist of the main story elements that we can expect during this journey. Assembling trusted allies into a crew, a well-manned and well-connected conspiracy, high-tech action with old-fashioned explosions, and of course, Bucky Winter Soldier Barnes himself. Which brings us to the brief events that launches our characters into the wild jungle of the second act. It's also called the oh shit moment. Fury eludes capture, but only just barely, and he's now a wanted man. Oh shit. We follow our characters as they discover the new rules and expectations of their journey. These are always distinct to the narrative at play. Fury brings Cap in on the S.H.I.E.L.D. conspiracy. Double agents and secret operatives appear from the woodwork, seemingly. Then Cap encounters Bucky, and he's dumbfounded by his power. Next, our characters showcase their ability to grow and progress, and this is typically an external or physical beat rather than internal or emotional. Nats re-enters the picture, always a Marvel positive, and the crew receives their Coulson-like motivation to go rogue. Cap maintains the skepticism that Fury imbued, even of Nat, then hides the drive in a vending machine and out of S.H.I.E.L.D. hands. Then our characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. Cap's confidence in what he knows is rattled by Fury supposedly bugging his apartment, and the supposed conspiracy unravels with Fury as the main orchestrator. Then Pierce vaguely threatens Cap while simultaneously testing his loyalty. We endure the anxiety as our characters face an escalation of problems and complications. Cap is cornered in an elevator by a whole security team, but fights off every last one of them because he's Cap. He jumps from a building and survives because he's Cap, then takes down a S.H.I.E.L.D. hover ship and escapes. Next, our characters evolve internally or emotionally, and they do this by using elements of the plot or story which they've gathered and learned so far. Cap is declared a fugitive, pitting him against his own organization. Then Cap and Nat learn to trust each other over the Winter Soldier legend. They score a lead about the drive while S.H.I.E.L.D. closes in, and they escape the dragnet with private life shenanigans. Then our journey-weary characters come to terms with their ongoing struggles. Moments and elements of the first act are used to gauge their progress. Nat revisits her Act 1 prying into Cap's romantic life, and they bond. Cap revisits the old days like in Act 1, except it's IRL instead of a museum. Then high-tech solutions continue to be the answer to old-fashioned problems, which results in a brief event that strikes at our protagonist's core conflict. Cap and Nat discover the HYDRA brain hidden within an old-school S.H.I.E.L.D. bunker, illustrating how deep the conspiracy truly runs, and there's no turning back from here. We receive needed answers alongside our characters, which relate to both their external journeys and their internal conflicts. Zola reformed HYDRA inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. after he was recruited, and the organization will stop at nothing to kill Cap and Nat. Next, our characters complete their narrow scope objective, yet discover that their victory is shallow or altogether meaningless, and must complete a wider scope objective. Pierce is forced to speed up his timetable, but the fugitives continue to elude him. Cap and Nat tease out the depth of the conspiracy, but they lack the resources to stop it. Sam finds purpose here and offers the help of the Falcon, but it's another life on the line. Then our characters face an existential conflict that wounds their sense of self and identity or their physical journey. Cap, Nat, and Sam psychologically torture Sitwell for information, successfully, who discover that HYDRA can calculate future enemies for immediate execution. Then Bucky intervenes, providing a tangible link back into the conspiracy. We celebrate with our protagonist in light of an undeniable win, which is always related to the rebirth in some way. Nat manages to get a shot on the Winter Soldier, and Cap takes out the big gun, the minigun. The team begins to gel while Sam provides cover fire. Then Nat gets the drop on Bucky again. Next, our characters suffer a grand loss. This is always connected to their newfound inability to quit their journey. Bucky shoots Nat in the shoulder. Maybe a lucky shot? Cap meets his match like he's never faced before in this movie. Then the Winter Soldier's identity is revealed, to Cap's horror, and the crew is taken into S.H.I.E.L.D. custody to be executed elsewhere. Then we experience a thematic freefall as the main story elements are ramped up and thrown into upheaval. Cap struggles with the prospect of Bucky's return. Then Agent Hill finally reappears in the movie in HYDRA disguise. Fury is revealed as alive though badly hurt, and Bucky's conditioning has begun to deteriorate after his encounter with Steve, which forces us into a brief event that robs our protagonist of seemingly any hope of success. Pierce violently resets Bucky and erases any impression that Cap made. We watch our characters realize that they cannot return to their first act selves, and they turn to face the wider scope objective. The crew commits to taking down S.H.I.E.L.D. as well as HYDRA, forcing Cap to reconcile with what he'll have to do to stop his old best friend. Pierce reassembles the Council IRL, setting up the endgame coup. Then Cap makes a plea for righteousness and duty and civic responsibility to prevail in the face of authoritarian oppressors. Next, our characters use the major swings of the story and their personal journeys to move towards the climax. The resistance begins. and S.H.I.E.L.D. employees turn against HYDRA, and we're treated with some classic Marvel third act action. 2 of 3 airships are compromised according to the plan, then Bucky deals further damage to the Resistance. Then the final confrontation plays out between our protagonist and characters against the antagonistic force. Fury arrives like a boss and faces off with Pierce. Bucky takes Sam out of the fight and goes for Cap. Then the old best friends fight over the 3rd airship, which culminates in a brief moment where our protagonist finally, and oftentimes metaphorically, overcomes their place in the Act 1 status quo. Cap tries to sacrifice himself again, but taking down 3 airships this time instead of 1 airplane. We experience the direct aftermath of the climax. This can give our characters a moment to reflect on the situation, or else wind down the action with a coda. Nat hurts herself to give Fury the window to kill Pierce, while all of S.H.I.E.L.D's new tech turns on itself. Nat and Fury save Sam from a building collapse, and Cap appears to break through Bucky's conditioning yet again. Next, we touch base with additional characters, typically to contrast them against the new status quo. Bucky saves Cap, then dips out. Sam is now besties with Cap. Sharon joins the CIA. Hill applies for Stark. HYDRA is rounded up. This guy survives, somehow. Nat defends the actions of the partial Avengers before Congress. Then Fury burns and walks away from his identity in the now defunct S.H.I.E.L.D. Then we conclude with a tight focus on our protagonist, specifically to contrast them against how we met them at the opening. Cap gets a peek at possible future missions, hunting down HYDRA spies with Fury, then receives Winter Soldier intel and romantic encouragement from Nat, before jetting off with Sam to find and save Bucky. And there you have it. Anthony and Joe Russo's 2014 MCU expansion Captain America: The Winter Soldier adheres perfectly to the 29-point story structure every step of the way, and Marvel has gotten less awkward at weaving in origins for future recurring characters. Now, let's move on from a powerful villain hunting Captain America to a powerful alien hunting Native Americans, with my deep dive into the historical fiction mashup action prequel that no one saw coming. Join me next time for Dan Trachtenberg's 2022 sci-fi thriller, Prey. As always, thank you so much for your time. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and consider commenting on and sharing this video to help the channel find its audience. Take care of yourselves out there, and I'll talk at you next time.